Hi students, this is Karimunisa Syed, Associate Professor in Zoology. Welcome back to session 41, which is continuation of session 40, in which we have started the study of affinities and systematic position of hemichordata. So in this session, we are having part 2 of this affinities under Zoology paper 2, non-chordata part 2. Of course, before learning this session, we should learn quite well the affinities and systematic position of hemichordata part 1. So in continuation, now we'll try to establish some more affinities of hemichordates with the echinoderms. First of all, as usual, we'll list the resemblances, then we'll study the differences. So coming to the coelom and its division. As we see both in the case of hemichordates and echinoderms, coelom is a true coelom. It is lined by coelomic epithelium, both parietal and visceral epithelium. And also the coelomic cavity is divided into 3 successive parts. That is protocoel, mesocoel and the metacoel. Proboscis coelom, trunk and collar coelom. Similarly, the heart vesicle and glomerulus of enteronos or hemichordates are said to be homologous to the dorsal sac and axial gland of echinoderms. So there is some sort of similarity with regard to the circulatory system and also excretory system of the hemichordates and also echinoderms. Similarly, the nervous system is fully developed both in the hemichordates and echinoderms, because in both the cases we see epidermal nerve net or nerve plexus, which is just subepidermal or just below the skin and without brain or the cerebral ganglia. Similarly, scientists have studied the proteins and phosphogens present in the adult hemichordates are similar to that of proteins of the some of these echinoderms. Similarly, in both echinoderms and hemichordates, there is a similarity with regard to their habits and habitat, the ecological niche. Ecological niche means it is the spatial area occupied by the organism in the environment. So these animals, they occupy usually same niche. And both the groups of hemichordates and echinoderms, there is a remarkable power of regeneration. So in continuation, not only the adult echinoderms and hemichordates, even the larval forms of both echinoderms and hemichordates show lot of resemblances or affinities. So the ternaria larva of hemichordates shows following structural resemblances with the echinoderm larvae. In both the larvae, the pattern of cleavage is same. That means it is holoblastic, equal, and also radial cleavage. Not only that, the pattern of gastrulation we have seen, which is nothing but embolic invagination. It is also same. Similarly, both ternaria larva and echinoderm larvae are small, free-living, pelagic, transparent, bilaterally symmetrical with complete elementary canal having foregut, stomach and intestine shape is also almost oval. Not only that, both these larvae, they also have ciliated bands for the active locomotion, which helps the larva in the dispersal and also adult in the dispersal of the species. Apart from that, in both these larvae, we see deuterostomia, that is the blastopore of the gastrula larva becomes the anus of the larva. Similarly, the most striking resemblance also occurs in the method of formation and arrangement of coelomic cavity. So in both coelom is enterocoelic in origin. That means it is formed from the archenteron by the formation of coelomic pouches. Then the division of coelom from anterior to posterior is also tripartite. That means it is divided into 3 chambers, which we call in the case of hemichordates as proboscis coelom or protocoel anterior, and middle mesocoel or collar coelom, and posterior trunk coelom or the metacoel. While in echinoderms, the 3 parts of the coelom are called axocoel, hydrocoel, and somatocoel. Similarly, the proboscis coelom opens to outside by means of proboscis spore in the case of Turneria larva, which can be compared to hydropore of the hydrocoel, which opens outside by means of hydropore in the case of echinoderm larvae. So therefore, these two larvae, they not only show some resemblances, they also show some differences. What are these differences? Eye spot is present in the apical tuft of Turneria larva, whereas in the case of echinoderm larvae, the apical plate of cilia with eye spot or ocelli is totally absent. Similarly, teleotroch is absent in Bipinnaria, but teleotroch is present in the Turneria larva. In the same manner, protocoel is paid in echinoderm larvae, while in the case of Turneria larva, it is unpaid. So therefore, scientists believe that the many embryonic resemblances between hemichordates and echinoderms cannot be possibly accidental or due to convergent evolution. Thereby, they conclude that these two groups show close resemblances just because of having probably a common ancestor. Scientists support the Haeckel's theory or Haeckel's statement that ontogeny repeats phylogeny. Thereby, the larval forms of both echinoderms and hemichordates, they have the resemblances with the ancestral stock. So to conclude, Bateson in the year 1885 placed the hemichordates in a separate subphylum under the phylum Chordata only due to their peculiar anatomical organization. And they represented the lowest group of chordates. But they have only one chordate character or true chordate character, that is the presence of pharyngeal gill slits. Similarly, Groben in the year 1923 established that echinoderms are derived from pterobranchs of hemichordata. Pterobranchs are more primitive than those of enteroneures. They possess tentaculated arms, which are absent in the enteroneures or the hemichordates. Most probably they were lost. The post-anal tail is juvenile in the enteronost or the hemichordates, which is a relic of the stock of the pterobranch ancestors. So these are all ancient statements. But the recent workers such as van der Horst, Davidoff, Marcus and Hyman have thought it is proper to remove the group from the phylum Chordata to give it the status of an independent invertebrate phylum. Since the Hemichordata comprises only few species, about 80 species, it is concluded that phylum Hemichordata can only be called as a small phylum or the minor phylum. Thereby, the close affinities of Hemichordata with Echinodermata, Annelida, Pogonophora, Phoronida, Rhynchocephalia have led to the conclusion that they have arisen from a common ancestral stock, probably the Diplurula-like ancestor. So the Diplurula larva is very similar to the adult ancestral stage. But this idea was not accepted. Recently, Barrington in the year 1965 expressed that Echinodermata deviated greatly from the line of ancestral stock and formed a blind branch. Hemichordates remained closer to its ancestral stock, but Hemichordata did not stand on the direct main line of chordate evolution but formed a divergent offshoot from the main line of chordate evolution. Thus, it may be suggested that Bernoglasses and other chordates are running on the same field but not on the same track. Hemichordates arose from the ancestral line after divergence of the ancient or ancestral echinoderms, but before the rise of the true chordates, and hence they are often called as pre-chordates. So this is the session summary or the outcome where we have learned that annelids, echinoderms, hemichordates, urochordates, cephalochordates, that means both primitive and higher vertebrates, they all must have most probably had a similar ancestral stock. Thereby, the larval forms of annelids, echinoderms and hemichordates resemble. Thereby, the ancestral stock is said to be having a hypothetical Diplurula-like larva. From this hypothetical ancestral stock, which represents the adult stage of ancestral stock, probably the echinoderms have evolved, which lead to a blind offshoot. There is no further evolution from the echinoderms. Similarly, hemichordates also they remain close to echinoderms and ancestral stock which has originated from the annelids. But they also remain as a blind offshoot. But the main line of evolution continues in the form of the primitive chordates and also higher chordates like vertebrates. So with this, we come to the end of the study of affinities of hemichordata and also its systematic position. Here are some of the references which are useful for your further studies. Please send your feedback to email ID zoology.bcu@gmail.com. Thank you.